Atreyu is a running shoe brand that strives for simplicity. But its first shoe, the base model, was a bit too raw for me. I wanted maybe just a little less simplicity. This is a brand new Atreyu Daily Trainer, and it's exactly what I've been asking for. Yo, what's going on everybody? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews shoes here on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you guys about the Atreyu Daily Trainer called the Daily Trainer. But before I give you my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that Atreyu sent me for the purpose of review, so I did not have to pay for them. However, no one's paying me to make this video or to use the shoe, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Atreyu Daily Trainer. First, let's go over some specs on this shoe. It's got 30 millimeters of stack height in the heel with a 6 millimeter drop, giving us 24 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. And in this midsole, there is nothing but supercritical EVA and a slightly taller stack height configuration than we saw in their base model. The other really big difference from the base model to the Daily Trainer is that there is now a full rubber coverage outsole. Now this looks a lot like the rubber outsole that we saw on the Atreyu Trail shoe, but it's a much smaller version in terms of the lugs, so it's better suited for use on the roads. And up top, we have a very familiar silhouette. It's, I think, basically the exact same shape as all the other Atreyu shoes, but where they're using a slightly different material here. It's a more breathable mesh with really large holes in the mesh, so it's kind of like almost a see-through type of material, but otherwise in terms of fit and the tongue and all the other things, if you've run in a Atreyu shoe before, you're gonna feel that it's familiar when putting your foot into this shoe. On the insole, there is a 5 millimeter thickness ETPO insole that is non-removable, and altogether this shoe comes in at a total weight of 9.3 ounces and 263 grams. Now that we've talked about the specs, let's talk about what it was like to run in the shoe. Now I mentioned at the top of the video that the first shoe that I tried from Atreyu, the base model, was exciting. It had no rubber outsole at all, and I found that that was like a pretty fun, novel experience. But I also felt like that shoe, I kind of bottomed out on it. And so for me and my marathon training, it felt like a shoe that just wasn't giving me quite enough. If I were a shorter distance runner where my medium and easy runs were more in the 3 to 6 mile category, I feel like that shoe would have been just fine. But for someone that's doing a little bit longer of a run on a daily basis than that, and then also doing long runs on the weekends, it just felt like a shoe that was a little bit too minimal for me. This shoe with its improved stack height, I think resolves a lot of those problems, although it still feels like a little bit of a firm shoe to me overall, and possibly because of the styling of the shoe as well. It kind of has like a retro kind of feel to it. I think the best way that I can describe what the feeling is of this shoe is that there is a decent amount of squish and responsiveness to the shoe, but overall it kind of feels like I'm running in a really good like retro shoe. Like imagine your favorite retro silhouette of like an old school running shoe that they actually put some real running chops into. I feel like it would feel a lot like the Daily Trainer does. But I don't think that I'd want to go much longer than say 10 miles. That's about as long as I've taken the shoe. And I could probably go a little bit longer than that, but I'm not sure that this is a shoe that I'd want to take out for like my longest of runs, 18, 19, 20 miles or more. I think that that's something that I'd want to reach for something with a little bit more cushion, so that way I can bounce back from that long run faster for the following week's worth of training. But the outsole gives me plenty of grip. I was able to take it on some light snowy pavement and also on some wet roads as well, and it did just fine. And I do feel like the little bit of extra stack height, plus the way that the rubber does change the way that the foam feels underfoot just a little bit, makes the shoe ultimately a little bit more livable for me, and it doesn't feel like I'm bottoming out quite so easily in the Daily Trainer. So I feel like it's a really nice upgrade from a shoe that I enjoyed, but could really previously only take in very small doses. Now I can take it in regular size doses. All right, now let's get to the summary portion where I try to summarize some of my ramblings for today. The Atreyu Daily Trainer, I think, is a shoe that's best for your easy runs and maybe not your longest of runs and maybe not your workouts, but like those daily training miles is what the Daily Trainer is going to be best for. Now, in terms of shoes that you can pair it with, I think that the obvious choice, keeping it in within the Atreyu family, is to then pick up the Atreyu Artist, and you can use that maybe not as your racer. I know it's Atreyu's racing shoe, but I just don't think it's quite aggressive enough for my preferences in terms of a race day shoe. But I do think that it would be a really great shoe to have for your sessions and for those longest of runs that I might not necessarily want to take the Daily Trainer out for. And on top of that, if you're then looking for the shoe that you can race in, I think that the SC Elite will be a really great option for you as well, because then you could take the Daily Trainer and its supercritical EVA for your daily training miles, and then you can race in a very soft yet carbon springy supercritical midsole foam of the SC Elite. And I feel like that would be a really nice combo of having the Daily Trainer, the Artist, and the SC Elite. Now let's talk about some of the buying options for this shoe. Atreyu has always been known for kind of reducing a lot of overhead and keeping costs really, really low. And this shoe is the same. It comes in at 110 bucks, which is a very aggressive price, especially now within the last like year, 2 years, shoe prices have really been skyrocketing. So to see a 110 price point is really quite a surprise. But I think Atreyu has kind of painted itself into a bit of a corner because their base model is $85. The trail version of this shoe is $115, but their racing version comes in at just $100. So I feel like the Artist is a shoe that's like really needs to be bumped up to like 120, so it's a bargain at 100. Then the 110 for the Daily Trainer would make a little bit more sense. But if like the base model is 85 and the Artist is 100, I feel like the Daily Trainer should probably fit somewhere in between there, but at prices kind of like in this range that are already so low, I'm not gonna quibble over like 10 or 15 bucks. I think it's a really great price. But if you're not certain, and if you want something that's kind of along this type of shoe, but maybe has even less simplicity than that, then I think there's a couple of really fun options. One shoe that you could look at is going to be the Glide Ride. This is, I think, a really underrated shoe from ASICS that has a lot of similar ride mechanics, but I think it's doing it slightly better. You're also going to be paying a lot more for it because this shoe is still available in most places at the full price of 150 bucks. So you're paying like quite a bit more than the 110 of the Daily Trainer, but depending on like if the Daily Trainer is going to work for you or not, the 150 of the Glide Ride might be the splurge that you're gonna have to make. The other thing that I think is a little bit more interesting is going to be the possible alternative of the Rebel 3. This is one of my favorite Daily Trainers from last year and even into this year so far. And this shoe is a $130, I think, at full retail price, so a little bit more than what the Daily Trainer is. Both of these are supercritical foam shoes that are pretty straightforward, very basic, and have just a very little amount of rubber coverage that's in between you, the road, and the foam. But there is, at least at the time I filmed this video, one color that's available of the Rebel version 3 that's available in a variety of sizes at $100. And I feel like that's a shoe that I'd probably take over the Daily Trainer because I just like that supercritical foam just a little bit more than what's going on in the Daily Trainer. But if you can't find the Rebel 3 at that $100 price, then I think that the Daily Trainer at 110 is a pretty interesting option. So those are my thoughts on the Atreyu Daily Trainer. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I'd love to talk to you guys in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?